You're rocking with the best. Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First and foremost, the big conversation, the big story is Trump going back to Washington, D.C. to face the charges. So many charges. We're going to be checking in, talking to a lawyer about this later on, but we will certainly keep you up to date on the latest activity in Washington, D.C. Also, let's talk about health and wellness as we check in with the nutritionist and one sister about what we can do to improve our health, to create and personalize health plans, and so much more. And folks, again, we will continue the conversation, give you some in-depth coverage of the latest situation around President Trump. Stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. Folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, happy Thursday. And it is a busy, newsworthy Thursday, an historic day as President Trump goes back to Washington, D.C., this time to face charges, many charges around this situation. So I just want to share with you, let me just show you very quickly what we're looking like at this point. We're going to get into this conversation later as he's expected to arrive in court today at 4:00 in Washington, D.C. Eastern Standard Time. But this is just a little bit of the footage, some of the activity that's happening outside in Washington, D.C. They're expecting a number of Trump supporters to convene at this at a federal courthouse in D.C. As you can see, police are out there and just creating a barricade and prepared for whatever may happen. But this is an historic day, another historic day, as this former president faces a third set of charges leading to a third indictment. And so we're going to have much more conversation about this in a little bit, but we wanted to let you know that we are posting following coverage. We're streaming all of this right now on blackstarnetwork.com, where we're streaming this show. We're also streaming on Amazon News. And folks, we're streaming on our Facebook pages as well and on our YouTube pages. So people are gathering. People are trying to see what's the latest there. We're expecting to see President Trump, get some glimpse of him, some view of the former president as people are convening there in Washington, D.C. If you are in Washington right now, you know that there has been a number of street closures and some other security measures have been put in place. Especially around the polarizing figure of Donald J. Trump. So again, folks, we're going to do our part to give you some continuing coverage of this historic day. Now, in other news on the political front, we wanted to just share with you something. I think this is pretty interesting to say the least. That GOP, another GOP candidate, a presidential candidate, has finally agreed to do a debate. This time, he's looking to debate another Democratic hopeful. I'm talking about Governor Ron DeSantis agreeing to the debate Governor Newsom, Gavin Newsom of California. And this is an interesting situation just because it was something that Sean Hannity of Fox News had first proposed to Governor Gavin Newsom during an interview. And Gavin Newsom said that he would certainly be up for a debate against the Florida governor. Now, when the Florida governor came on, Sean Hannity came on, this is what the Florida governor had to say. Take a look at this. We just want to see if we can get to that video very quickly as we pull up the Florida governor. There we go. But as Keenan's bringing that up, folks, this is an interesting situation. As I mentioned, this is something that Sean Hannity had first proposed to both of the governors, saying that he would be interested in seeing a leader from both parties having a debate about the issues. As he wants to claim it would be a policy-based debate. And he said that it would, this is, I'm speaking of Sean Hannity, saying that it would be great to see the two leaders of a policy-based debate between the leader of a red state and the leader of a blue state, debating about the issue. So let me see if we can play what Governor Ron DeSantis said to this invitation from Sean Hannity. Take a look. All right, we got some, look like we just, and my man King Keenan is going to work through the tech issues. Folks, I want to get your take on this very quickly. If you're joining us, we're joining us live right now on our YouTube page. If you're watching us on YouTube, on Facebook, you know we invite you to be a part of the conversation here on The Culture. So join us at our chat right now on YouTube as our Culture crew members are gathering and convening there. Would you want to see a debate between the two governors, the governor of the state of California, Governor Gavin Newsom, and the governor of the state of Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis? Would you want to see this debate? Post your comments and share your thoughts on this as folks are checking in. And I see you, Brother Damon Blissett. Good to see you again, big brother. Always holding it down for the, what did they call that, Brother Damon? They call you the pastor of the block church. Deidre Hall, good to see you, ma'am. Cindy D, good to see you. Brian Christian, good to see you. Pretty Brown Mimi 726, good to see you. Happy Thursday, Mimi. Monkey Confession, you said Newsom. Nope, you don't want to see a debate between Newsom and DeSantis. Okay, not a problem. It's all good. Monkey Confessions, thank you for checking in. Cindy D, you said to Satan, it's not a great debater. Newsom will wipe the floor with him. That's what some believe, and yet others say that's not the case. That he might bring it. But let me see if we can let's see if we can bring DeSantis's response to this invitation to vote to debate against Gavin Newsom. Take a look at this, folks.
You heard Gavin make the offer. Your answer is?
Absolutely. I'm game. Let's get it done. Just tell me when and where. We'll do it. And here's the thing, Sean. I mean, in one respect, the debate between California and Florida, has already been had, as you suggest. People have been voting on that. They've been voting on it with their feet. They have fled California in record numbers. Florida has been the #1 state for net in-migration. We have the #1 ranked economy, #1 now in education, crime rate at a 50-year low. But in another sense, this is the debate for the future of our country, because you have people like Joe Biden. They would love to see the Californication of the United States. Biden may not even be the nominee. You could have Gavin Newsom. You could have Kamala Harris. And I think if we go down that direction, that's going to accelerate American decline. We can't see America decline anymore. We need to reverse American decline.
Can't go down that direction, or that's going to be a sign of American decline. Okay, Mr. DeSantis. Okay. Let me see here. Let me check in with you, crew, about this. Edward Adams, thank you for checking in. Edward, you said DeSantis is an empty suit, and this would highlight that. Okay. Okay, so you're not, you know, you sound like Newsom would take the win on that one. Davey Floater, thank you, Edward. Davey Floater, you checked in. Good to see you, Davey. You said, I don't see why not debates are supposed to be a normal thing in a liberal democracy. No, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But I think they were talking about just between those two, Davey, and not between other candidates running on both sides. So it would just be those two. And it's because these two states have history. Governor Gavin Newsom has been throwing some punches around on the immigration piece, on a whole lot of other issues. Florida has done the same thing. They're both, actually, if you think about it, folks, they're both states represent some side of the culture war. California is seen much more liberal, much more progressive. Florida, much more conservative, right? They're both actually are homes to some form of entertainment, of course, Hollywood and Los Angeles, but then you got Disney World in Florida. And so they're both kind of, it's an interesting dynamic. Of course, California is a much bigger state than the state of Florida, but they both do have some similarities. So Davey, I appreciate you for checking in, and I think you're right. Liberal debates, having a debate is healthy for the system of democracy. Robin Welch, my sister, you checked in, you said, I don't know if I want to see it. They are two white men. Will they be talking about our issues? Probably not. If Sean Hannity has proposed that he would moderate this debate, he said that he would do it for an hour and a half. Governor Gavin Newsom said that he would be willing to debate DeSantis for 3 hours. He said, let's go, let's make it happen, right? So if that's the case, to answer your question, Robin, no. Our issues will not be there. Our issues, if you're talking about reparations, if you're talking about maybe police reform, maybe you show up in that conversation, maybe. But I think it's going to be more of everything from the economy to jobs, everything from, it might be the Black history piece, dealing with curriculum in terms of the diversity piece that may come up. But I don't see a full jump in of our issues. But that's a great point. Great point. Pretty Be Brown, Mimi 726, you said DeSantis is so crazy. He might beat Gavin Newsom in a debate. It depends which Gavin will he be getting. LOL. Yeah, that's the truth. It depends on which Gavin Newsom he will be getting. We have seen a couple of versions of him. Peace, Tia. Good to see you, Tia Pearson. Checking in. Thank you so much. McCall, you checked in and said Governor Newsom will come to the debate with facts and receipts. He has done it. Y'all remember, maybe a month ago, he actually visited Florida, and then he did a whole commercial about what Florida is not doing compared to what California is doing. So he's been taking some shots at the state under DeSantis' leadership, but I think he certainly will bring some receipts. But I think that will be more of a cultural. I think this will be more of a culture. Yes, it's a policy-based debate, but I think it will lead to a more of a cultural discussion more than anything. Edward, you said who the moderator is and who hosts the debate will be key on who wins. Fox. Edward, Fox, because Sean Hannity said he would do it. They had essentially, Sean Hannity said that it was told to him by Newsom's team that they're looking at either some place of time like November 8th or November 10th. No date has been set, no location has been set, but Sean Hannity would be the moderator on that, Edward. So you make your decision. Rhonda Johnson, thank you for checking in. You said DeSantis' voice is irritating. He sounds like Mike Tyson. Florida is just as bad as California. I like your all the way up. I like your comment all the way up until the part you said as bad as California. Come on, Rhonda. Don't have to. You don't have to. This is my house. This is my home now. Come on. You don't have to. You know what? Like I said, they both have issues. California has the largest homeless population in the country. California has a major problem with in terms of economic equality. California still has some of the big issues around law enforcement, but California is also setting the trends and serving as the leader and the trailblazer in some other issues and some other spaces as well. Florida, we can go down the list, same thing. Florida is still setting the tones in some way. So this would be an interesting debate. You are not a victim. You said DeSantis has logic, facts on his side, but Newsom is good at using emotion to persuade. Emotions usually win out in public debates. Yeah, I can kind of understand that point. Emotions will always win because you're appealing to people and you think that you're appealing to people. And whether it's the facts or not, unless you follow the political path that both of these men have set forth, you got to do your homework to figure out who's really telling the truth and who's not. So, there's always fact checkers. I know that watching like CNN and other major debates, they had fact checkers and all of that stuff after the conversation. So you just got to follow them. If you're that person, like a political wonk, yes, that's going to be the big thing for you. Cindy, you said Newsom has been trolling the Satan for a long time. Yes, he has. Yes, he has. So we're going to have to see, folks, how this situation plays out, if this debate will actually happen between these two men. But Fox News, Sean Hannity is looking to set up something like this. And they coined it right now as red versus blue. And Gavin Newsom versus DeSantis. And we will have to see how this will play out. Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk about health and wellness. And later on, we're going to talk about some of the latest details and developments in this case of former President Donald Trump, who returns back to Washington, not as a victor, not as one who has been elected, but a one who is facing charges, serious charges, and a new set of another indictment as he goes back to D.C. So we'll have that conversation later on. So stick around. We got a lot to cover here on today's edition of The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. We are keeping our eyes out on what's going on in Washington. And we are tapped into the feed from Associated Press that's showing pro and anti-Trump protesters have been arguing with each other. So we're watching this situation. As you can see, the flag for Black Lives Matter has been raised. We're going to just take a look at just some of the footage here. As folks are gathering and convening for the arrival of former President Donald J. Trump, who is set to appear in court at 4 o'clock today, this afternoon, 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, to face another set of charges as part of a third indictment in historic precedent for a former president. But folks are gathering out here, and you have pro-Trump. We're looking at some anti-Trump protesters right there. And there's going to be there were some reports of clashes with pro-Trump protesters on the grounds as well near the federal courthouse. This is a very, very historic day, especially since, and we're going to get more into this in a little bit, but especially since, if you've been watching Roland, you should know that the judge that's been overseeing this whole process is a Black woman, a sister, who has been appointed by President Obama at the time. And so I'm going to pull up some more details about this and seeing what's happening right now. There's some pro-Trump rally protesters right there. I don't know if we can, Keenan, let me know if we can get a little bit of sound on this very quickly. Just want to give people more of a sense of where we are. Let's take a look, folks. Let's see if we can get some sound in what's being said. So you can hear a little bit of the arguing, the back and forth, even though there were some reports of some arguing, nothing violent as of yet. So there hasn't been any major skirmishes, but as you can see, things are heating up there in DC. We will certainly check back in, and crew, y'all can see some of this. Yeah, I know that some of the volume. We're tapped into a feed, so they only it's limited sound as of right now, especially being on the ground the way this is. So we're only getting a little bits and pieces, but you can see the action that's brewing right there. Police, law enforcement agencies, you know, in DC, they have so many different agencies on the ground there. Metro Police, Secret Service, they're a little bit over like 20 plus agencies, 25 agencies, law enforcement agencies in the district alone, folks. DC is one of the most populated areas in the country, if not the most populated areas in the country in terms of law enforcement agencies. So there are plenty of police presence there. Tiana said, we don't need to hear the craziness. It's going to be crazy, to say the least. And again, folks, at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in the next 20 minutes or so, they're expected to see President Trump getting out of his car and appearing in court today, as he is facing another set of charges as part of the third indictment. He will be placed under arrest and arraigned in court, and this is historic, to say the least. All right, let me just jump back in and let's have our conversation about health and wellness and nutrition. as we check in with our special guest for today and to give us some insight. What a day to talk about health and wellness when you have a situation like this. We're joined by now Ms. Kimberly Colby, who serves as the founder of Affirm Wellness, LLC. And she is a certified functional nutrition counselor. And, we're talking a little bit today about how you can live your life to the fullness in wellness. Kimberly, thank you so much for joining us here on the Culture. How are you this afternoon?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm good. I thank you for being with us, considering all that is happening right now with this latest situation with former President Donald Trump. So I know it's kind of a crazy day, but we should talk about making sure that we can keep our minds and our health in place, considering that there are so many things that kind of pull on us, that take a toll on us. So Kimberly, first and foremost, let's talk about the work that you do as a functional nutrition counselor. You're certified in that work, but what does that actually mean?
Sure. A functional nutrition counselor, what I do is I help people get to the root cause of their illness and work with them to come up with a personalized plan to overcome their illness holistically through nutrition, lifestyle changes, and so on.
So when you say coming up with a personalized plan, what does that look like? What does that mean?
So a lot of times, I'll use this as an example. You go to the doctor and the doctor might diagnose you with diabetes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor will treat the diabetes. If you were to come to me and you say, hey, my doctor says I have diabetes, okay, that's great. I'm going to treat you, the person, not the diabetes. Let's look at you and your personal body and what it is that you're going through, why your body is showing symptoms of diabetes. And then we come up with a plan to figure out what's going on and then naturally fix that problem. I'm not a doctor, so I can't say heal or get rid of. But, a lot of times when we change our lifestyle, especially with things like type 2 diabetes or high cholesterol or high blood pressure, those are diseases that we don't need to have. Just by changing your lifestyle and your eating habits and figuring out what foods work specifically for your body, we can get rid of these diseases.
Is this, is being a functional nutrition counselor, is it some sort of a rebuke to what we normally would experience in the doctor's office, where some people would think that doctors only treat symptoms versus getting to the cause, and whereas you're saying, hey, as a functional nutrition counselor, I'm getting to the root cause? Or is this something opposing what we experience in the doctor's office, or does this complement the doctor's visit?
I'm going to say it complements the doctor's visit, just because I like to work with your doctors. I need to be a part of your wellness team. You should always have a team, and you should need to be the biggest part of your team. I'm never going to say, stop taking that medication that doctor prescribed for you. I'm always going to say, well, let's look at your body and see how your body is working. What are you doing that's making your body present these illnesses? How are you sleeping? What is your everyday stress look like? What are you doing to relieve your stress? And so on and so on.
Right. And how much of it is lifestyle? Because I went to your website, and folks, I would invite you to do the same to get more information about the work that Kimberly Colby is doing. You can go to affirmwellness.com. affirmwellness.com. And how much of this is lifestyle generated?
Well, this is where a lot of people will disagree with me. I will say maybe 95 to 99% is lifestyle. Now, lifestyle is everything from the food that you eat, the way that you sleep, your environmental toxins, the way that we manage stress. It's a lot. And and I hear people all the time say, well, my daddy had high blood pressure and high cholesterol. His daddy had high blood pressure and high cholesterol. So I'm going to have high blood pressure and high cholesterol. It's hereditary. The high blood pressure and the high cholesterol is not hereditary. What's hereditary is the way that we learned how to eat from our parents and how they learned how to eat from their parents. I can tell you as a child, every Sunday, Sunday dinners was barbecued ribs, collard greens with fat back and pig's feet in them, big pans of baked macaroni and cheese, potato, you name it, we had it, and that's what we ate. And because everybody gravitated, to our house on Sundays, it was a mass amount of food. So of course, what wasn't eaten on Sunday was eaten throughout the week. And then it was still fried chicken, fried pork chops, fried fish. You name it, we had it. And that's where these illnesses are coming from. And even until I learned better, I carried that tradition on for my family.
So you had to even go through some personal changes. And I understand. And you know what? It is so refreshing, Kimberly, that you're saying that, because sometimes people don't want to look at themselves and look at their own life, and more importantly, look at their experience and backgrounds to say, you know what, the reason that you are not as healthy as you could be is because you have a learned behavior when it comes to health. We have learned our relationship to food, and it's interesting. I know we got to take a quick pause, but our relationship to food has been started when we were children in our homes, growing up. So that is an interesting and very, very important.
It started even way before we were conceived in our parents' stomachs. It goes generations back.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we got to take a quick pause, folks. Crew, if you want to join me in the conversation, since I'm talking to Miss Kimberly Colby, to talking about how we can live our life to the fullest in wellness. Join us in the discussion. We are streaming live now on YouTube, Facebook. You could join us in the chat on YouTube, and just look under Roland Martin and share your thoughts, your questions. I know many of you are checking in right now, so you are not a victim. You got something to say. My man Willie Frazier, peace, Willie. Good to connect with you. Letice, I see you. Andre, McCall, folks are checking in. Folks, stay with us. More conversation about wellness, more conversation about what's going on in DC. And so stick with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the Culture here on the Black Star Network. We just got word from the reports that former President Donald Trump has officially been taken into custody and has surrendered at the federal courthouse in Washington, D.C. This is something that was already determined that he would do, that he would go through the fingerprinting process in Washington, and they will not take a mugshot of him. They will use another picture of him. So you will not see a mugshot of former President Donald Trump, but they will certainly go through the other part of the process of fingerprinting him. So he just got taken into custody. In a few minutes, he will be scheduled to appear in court to face those new set of charges coming from his disruption or his attempt to disrupt the 2020 election and his attempt to disrupt the 2020 election and just the calling of the votes during that process with leading up to the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. So federal prosecutors are saying that he was determined to remain in power after losing the election, and that he and 6 unindicted co-conspirators orchestrated a plot to reverse the results leading up to January 6th. There's again more footage of some of the activity in Washington, D.C. And oddly enough, former President Donald Trump is still the 2024 GOP frontrunner and for the President of the United States. Still, even after this. So we're going to talk more about this situation in a few minutes, but I want to jump right back into the conversation that we have with Ms. Kimberly Colby, who serves as the founder of Affirmed Wellness LLC, and she is a certified functional nutrition counselor, and she's talking to us a little bit about how we can live life to the fullest in wellness. Kimberly, you brought up something that I think that has resonated with a lot of folks, especially some of my crew members. The way that we live has determined how we live, right? The lifestyle that we live. So when we're talking about a situation that has been ingrained in us for many, many years, how do you break that cycle?
It's hard. First, you have to recognize.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I still struggle with trying to eat right and understanding what the food is doing to my body. I completely understand, but it's still a struggle. It's hard habits to break. But the first thing that you have to do is recognize what it is, what's happening, and recognize those habits that need to be broken. And then, do you want to break those habits? I don't like working with people that doesn't want to change. And I won't work with people who don't want to change it. Just because you inquire about my services doesn't necessarily mean that you want to change.
Right.
So trying to just navigate through those people, figuring out, do you really want to change? Then we can move forward. And then how far are you willing to go?
And those are the two important questions of this whole journey, to this wellness journey. It's like, do you really want to change? And I think, Kimberly, life always comes down to a single decision, right? Yes. Like, do you want to be in this space or do you not want to be in this space? Do you want to have better health or do you not want to have better health? I'm a true advocate and I'm a true believer in this, that if you want to do something, then you'll just simply do it. You will make time for it. You will put your energy toward it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, seriously, right? Yes. It's like somebody always saying, well, I don't have time to go to the gym, or I don't have time. Okay, you don't have to go to the gym, but there are a lot of other things that you can do to keep your body active and to keep your health and wellness up.
I don't suggest people go to the gym. The gym is not necessary. I mean, if you want to, great. But you don't have to.
Right. You're talking about internal health.
I'm talking about holistic health, mind, body, spirit.
Right. Okay. And because we do live in a gym culture, it's about what your body looks like nowadays.
Yes.
So why don't you encourage people to go into the gym?
The gym can be intimidating. especially if you look a certain way and then you go into the gym and you see a bunch of people who are really nice and fit and have a bunch of muscles. It can be really intimidating. I tell people, if you don't want to go to the gym, don't go to the gym. You can buy some little dumbbells and work out right in your house. You don't have to do weight training. You can just go for walks. Going for a simple walk will take care of not just your physical activity, but also some of your emotional and mental. It'll help with your emotional and your mental as well, because you can, when you're out on walks and you're going through nature, it's calming. It'll calm your nerves down. So walks are great for numerous reasons.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that going back to the idea that you're saying with the work that you do with your company, Affirm Wellness, and folks, again, affirmwellness.com is the website to get more information. Having a personalized plan that for some people, going into a gym may not be part of the plan, but
Correct.
Certainly taking a walk, taking a hike, doing some running. Personally, I'm the type of guy, like I've had gym memberships and all of that, and they certainly play its benefits, but I like to work out outside. I like to be in nature when I'm exercising. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? And especially here in California, in Los Angeles, there are plenty of open spaces to take in the mountains, take in the beauty of the sunshine and all of those things. That gives me the energy that I need. So I'm definitely there and understand your point on that. Let me just take a couple of some of our culture crew members are just checking in and just want to share their experiences. Cindy D, you said my mom taught us how to fry chicken and pork chops as soon as you could reach the stove. About 8 years old. Wow. You said I didn't teach my daughter that. She eats healthier than me. She loves cabbage. Yeah. So that means there has to be some intentional things that Black parents do to change that cycle. And in the final few moments of our conversation today, Kimberly, what would you say to Black America that, as you know, we're struggling, we're high in so many different, health related issues when it comes to food and wellness. So what are those first couple of steps that we could start to take to change that?
For those people that are serious about changing their habits, the first thing I would say when it comes to the food that you eat, first of all, you want to stay away from processed foods. I think everybody hears that, but it's so important. And pay attention to how foods make your body feel. Just because one person might be doing the cabbage soup diet and it works for them, it might not work for the next person. There might be a food sensitivity that somebody has to cabbage. So you have to listen to your body. It's when your body is telling you, I like this food, I do not like this food. And then learn how to manage your stress. Get out in nature, take walks, do yoga is great for managing your stress. You have to find that balance. And I always tell everybody, you have to make that one appointment for yourself that you absolutely will not cancel. We find ourselves being there for everybody else, but when it comes time to being there for ourselves and taking care of ourselves, we always put us on the back burner. And I know as a mom, we can't do that. Absolutely.
It's kind of ingrained as a mom it is, right? And see, I have 2 children. So, I know their mother, it's ingrained for her to forget about herself and then,
Right.
put the emphasis on them. And so I would say the same thing for dads as well, that some of us, we're so ingrained in making sure that their health and well-being is up to date, but we forget about ours, working late, working hard, and all of those type of things.
I use the airplane analogy. When you get on the airplane and the stewardess is doing all of this, and what does she say? If something happens, who gets the air mask first? Who gets the oxygen mask first? You or the child?
It's right, you. I'm sorry, you.
You have to take care of yourself so you can be there to take care of everybody else.
That's a great point. That's right. Absolutely. I'm thinking of it. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, no, my child's gonna live. You're right. Absolutely. Kimberly, I appreciate the time. I appreciate you being with us here on the show today. Where can folks find more information about the work you're doing?
Sure. You can just go to my website, affirmwellnessllc.com. I'm also on Instagram at Affirm Wellness. That's where I'm going to be updating everything. That's not my site.
Not that one. Affirm Wellness.
AffirmWellnessLLC.com.
LLC. Well, man, Keenan, he got so many streams running, you know what I'm saying? So that's all good, Keenan. It's all good, bro. But we're affirmwellnessllc.com. I might have put the wrong site on the notes there, but Affirm Wellness. And, there it is. Boom. There we go. Thank you, Keenan. So this is the site, folks. Make sure y'all check her out. Kimberly Colby doing some great work, is serving as a certified functional nutrition counselor. And, Kimberly, we appreciate you just for a few moments to talk to us a little bit about the importance of living life to the fullness and wellness. And more importantly, thank you for being so good for the culture. You dropped some jewels for us today.
Thank you for having me. Anytime.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's take a look at what's the latest surrounding former President Donald Trump. It's been reported that he has entered the courtroom for his initial appearance in the 2020 election interference case. Special counsel Jack Smith is present for this first appearance as well. And so we will see, there are no cameras in the courtroom of the federal courthouse, and so we will see how the situation plays out. All eyes are on DC as we talk about this embattled president, a former president, a 2024 presidential hopeful being in court, facing another set of charges for an historic third indictment. What a day in America, folks. That conversation will come up on the other side right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money make this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, it is an historic day in Washington, D.C. Once again, as former President Donald J. Trump appears in federal court to face federal charges stemming from his involvement or his disruption of the 2020 election. This is the case that was brought by special counsel Jack Smith, where an indictment came out of these charges. This is the third time Trump has been placed under arrest and arraigned in court in 4 months, and he's expected to plead not guilty and be released pending trial. The federal prosecutor said that in the charging documents that Trump was the quote unquote determined to remain in power after losing the election, that he and 6 unindicted co-conspirators orchestrated a plot to reverse the results leading up to the January 6th attack and back in 2021, the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Now, Trump still remains to be the 2024 GOP frontrunner, and he's already been charged in Jack Smith's separate probe on classified documents. So special counsel Jack Smith is facing Trump on 2 occasions. However, the former president certainly has denied any wrongdoing, while also he has said that the case has been politically motivated and it is a witch hunt. Now, let me just share this very quickly, and then we're going to get to our next special guest. Let me share with you what those charges that former president is facing. I love this picture, guys. Can you go back to that one? Seems like he's looking real happy on that one. But these are the four charges that 4 counts: conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights. Now, the chief judge who was on scene today, Chief Judge James Boasberg, he is the chief judge that who oversees the grand jury. He has also played a role in deciding the issues in the investigation that culminated in the criminal case against the former president. So he's on hand, Chief Judge Boasberg. He assumed the chief judge role, and that is one of the most influential judgeships in the nation's capital. And he just assumed this role a few months ago. So Chief Judge James Boasberg will be on hand at the E. Barrett Prettyman Federal Courthouse there in Washington, D.C. We have another very special guest to kind of give us some insight as to what we're looking at and how this whole situation may play out. He serves as the attorney and chief minority whip of the South Carolina Democratic Caucus, and I'm happy to have him join me here on The Culture, Attorney Caesar McKnight. Good afternoon, Caesar. How are you, sir?
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. Thank you so much for joining us today for a little bit to talk about this. What are we seeing right here? I mean, we can understand the historic nature of this, Caesar, in terms of third indictment. This president is going through some legal troubles. He's still got some more, some legal cases, some more cases that may lead to another set of indictments on this. But what do you see happening here? Some people are saying that this is an indicator that the system is working the way it's supposed to, and other folks are saying this is an indicator that this system is falling apart, and folks should not be so hopeful in the system. So what are you seeing, especially in the spaces that you're in, brother?
So one of the old adages in the law is that the wheels of justice turn, but they turn slowly. And there's a school of thought that thinks that this should have happened a lot sooner. And then there's a school of thought that thinks that the Justice Department has been very deliberative, very purposeful, and very methodic in their prosecution of this. And so I sort of fall between the two. I am grateful or thankful that we live in a country where no man is above the law. And I think we're seeing that today. Of course, you're going to find those that say, okay, well, this is a selective prosecution, what have you. But no, you can't say that. Given the conduct that we have seen from this president, whom I had a conversation with my 6-year-old with my 7-year-old daughter today when she was asking me about President Trump and what he did, and I described to her as best I could to a 7-year-old. I said that regardless of what happens, Claire, that's my daughter's name, you want someone who will do the right thing. Regardless of if they win or lose, at the end of the day, they'll do the right thing. And I can honestly say that we have seen a president in President Trump that has not done the right thing. He has been a petulant child through this entire thing. And it has been, he's basically Lucy with the football. If he can't get his way, he takes it and runs home. But what you're seeing is justice play out. However, I'm hopeful and I'm fearful at the same time, because given where we are on the calendar, even if we were to get a conviction, he can still run and he can still be elected president of the United States. And that's where,
you know what, brother, I gotta interrupt, man, because this is the part that I can't even wrap my mind around, Caesar. Brother, I cannot wrap my mind. How is it that he can still run as president of the United States when he has open federal cases? These aren't like small cases; these are federal cases. And even more importantly, the nature of the charges. I mean, you're talking about defrauding the United States of America. You're talking about an interference in a federal and national election. You're talking about inciting a coup, right? I mean, all of these things, right? Like, so how is it possible? And I know it doesn't say these things in the Constitution, because I don't think the founding fathers would think that one day there would be a time where a sitting president would be in such a position. So how is that possible, brother?
It's possible because the qualifications of president are spelled out in the Constitution. It must be a natural born citizen and be 35 years old. It doesn't mention anything about being a felon. It doesn't bar you for being a felon. It doesn't mention anything about you being in jail. There's been some fringe people that have run for president from prison. So I'm saying to you and everybody, and we should have learned in 2016 when we first wrote off Donald Trump as being this flash in the pan, can't happen. Well, guess what? It did happen. So is it within the realm of possibility? Yes, it is. And I can tell you that part of the problem, and I know we're here to talk about the president, is that people in this country feel that they have to make a choice, and it's a zero-sum game. It's either we're going to be with Trump or we're going to be on the side of the Democratic Party, and I'm very much so a Democrat. But the Democratic Party has not given people something really to root for and pull over. And it's time that we have that conversation. And I'm just telling you my experience anecdotally and just talking to people. If you talk to the average African-American man, it will frighten you to find out how many of them would vote for Donald Trump right now. And that's because the Democratic Party has a messaging problem. It has repeatedly said that the black woman's the backbone of the Democratic Party. Okay, so the black man is chopped liver. He is and the things that black men want to hear, black men are very pragmatic. James Brown sums it up best. I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Open up the door and I'll get it myself. And I think you'll find that spirit resonating a lot with African-American men. So they hear, okay, what the Democratic Party has done for the LGBTQ community. They hear about, extending SNAP benefits and all that. Black men want to know, how can I start a business? How can I lower my taxes? And how can I do that? And until the Democratic Party starts to speak that message, you're going to see a lot of people sort of drift away quietly. They're not going to say anything. And so, and that's the dichotomy that's come. Either we're going to go for these people, this guy who is a bad guy, we know he's horrible, but he sort of give me what I want, as opposed to these people who don't seem to talk to me or care about what I want. They're just interested in telling me what it is they think I should want or have. And that's the problem.
That's a huge problem, brother. That's huge.
That's a problem. And so we need and I think there's a certain level, and forgive me, and I'm not being condescending, but there's a level of arrogance that comes from the Democratic Party leadership that thinks they tell people what they want to hear. You need to come and talk to people and hear what it is they're saying. There's yes, the economy's doing well. I can't say that. And I got to be honest with you, I'm in a business that's recession proof. I'm a lawyer and I do car wrecks. So as long as there are people driving, as long as they're human error, I'm going to make money. But what about the gentleman who wants to start a business and wants to start a trucking company? His first question is, why is diesel fuel so high? Why is this? Why is there so much regulation? And so you've got to start to speak that language. Yes, there's always going to be bad cops. Yes, there's racism. Black folk know that. And we've dealt with that since we first stepped in this country in 1619. It's always going to be here. And we've managed to make it past that. We want to figure out a way to create an environment where we continue to make it past that. But to get back on the subject of of President Trump, I've read both indictments. I have been practicing law since 2002. I have never, ever in my life seen an indictment with pictures in it until I saw his first indictment from Florida, which tells you the level of detail that this special prosecutor has gone to. This is not some witch hunt, throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. These are some serious charges, and they have some serious evidence. And all they have to do is convict him of one, and he could go to prison for the rest of his life. But here's what I see. Let's say the president is convicted before the election. Let's say he's convicted of everything. They're not going to take him into custody then. And you know what the president's going to do, what President Trump's going to do. He's going to file an appeal, and that's going to go to the Court of Appeals and ultimately to the Supreme Court. Well, then you get past Election Day, and let's say he is convicted and still wins the election. We don't need an appeal then, because even if it's there, he's going to pardon himself day one. And the only thing that could possibly put him in jail would be the trial in Georgia. And I appreciate Fani Willis's diligence, but sister, it's time to move. You are taking too long to bring this. And yes, he can go to jail in Florida and he cannot pardon himself for a charge in Florida. But let's say Brian Kemp is no longer governor of Florida and they end up with another Republican governor that's friendly to Trump. I'm sorry, pardon me. Georgia. That's friendly to President Trump. And he says, I'm going to pardon him. Or let's just say Brian Kemp says, I want to be the next senator. I want to beat either Warnock or the other guy. I'll just pardon Trump, win the Trump base, and I instantly come in with the ability to win Georgia. This is chess, not checkers. And I think it's three-dimensional chess. And that's what the president is playing.
Woo! Woo! All right, we got to take a quick pause, man. Brother Cecil, you breaking it down, man, because this now the way you broke it down, dear brother, it's like the American people have a very big choice to make. The American people have a very big choice to make. Black America, white America. We have some choices to make. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. More conversation with attorney Caesar McKnight. And of course, I want to get your take on this too, crew. So share your thoughts as we're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube. You can go to Roland Martin's YouTube page, and then we'll love to hear what you have to say. And stay with me, a lot to cover as we talk about the third indictment, the third hearing against former President Donald Trump as he faces another set of charges in the 2020 election. Stay tuned. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
It's a
angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. We've been checking in with attorney Caesar McKnight, who serves as an attorney as well as the chief minority whip of the South Carolina Democratic Caucus, as we are providing ongoing coverage about the latest situation, the latest developments in the case of former President Donald Trump, who's in Washington right now facing charges stemming from his disruption of the 2020 election. And coming out of that all culminated to the January 6th attack on the Capitol. And our brother attorney Caesar McKnight has shared some thoughts, some things to really make us think twice about what could possibly happen moving forward. For those of us who say, oh, we've been wanting to see President Trump locked up, wanting him to be in handcuffs, and that may not happen for this man. That may not happen for this man. And so I want to bring my brother Caesar back into the conversation again. He serves as an attorney. He's the chief minority whip of the South Carolina Democratic Caucus, and would love to get his take and we just want to bring him back up. Let me go to you, crew, as we bring up brother Caesar. Let me share with what many of you are checking in to say about this. And I'm loving the discussion that we're having right now on YouTube. Folks, you can jump in the conversation, be a part of our crew member, our culture crew. There we got our brother back as we're having this discussion. Tracy White, who said, first of all, he's not the president. He's not the president. He was a former president, though. So I think that we need to keep that in mind. It's easy. And, even something as small like that, brother Caesar, that some people say, oh, no, he's not the president. I like to let people know he used to be a former president. We can't run away from that fact. Like, he used to serve in the seat, and I think it serves as a reminder to let people know that we are at this place in this country, brother, where we are allowing any type of individual in the most powerful seat in the country, and certainly what some would even go as far as say is the most powerful seat in the world. So we can't ever forget that.
Tracy's 1,000% correct. He is not the president of the United States. However, he was president, and standard protocol calls for us to call him president. The same way that Barack Obama is no longer president of the United States, but I wouldn't dare call Barack Obama Mr. Obama. He is President Obama, and because he has earned that. Now, Donald Trump isn't worthy of that respect, and don't get me wrong, I'm just being respectful of the office, not the man. Right. He has not acquitted himself with any level of decency to warrant that type of respect. However, he was elected president, and that's just what we're going to do. I'm sorry, I'm a Southerner. It's my manners. I'm gonna call you sir, even though you may not be sir. So no, and I don't want anybody to think that I'm at all a Trump supporter, because I'm not. However, I like to be pragmatic. I can say there are some good things a person has done, and then I can say there's some bad things that a person has done. And somebody's, well, what's Donald Trump done good? He did pass a law called the right to try, which allows for people to get experimental treatment if they have been diagnosed with a terminal illness. And normally before that got all bogged down in procedure, people would die. But I believe if a person wants to live, give them the opportunity to try whatever it is they can try to do to live. And I passed the same law. Well, I passed the same law here in South Carolina. And then after I did it federally, the feds did it. So yes, kudos to him for that. Other things he's done good, I can't think of anything right now, so I have to do some research.
But one of the things that, you know what, I will say this. One of the things that he has done that I think is interesting for us as Black people in this country is the fact that he does put some level of accountability on federal institutions. And I'm thinking about the Department of Justice. I'm thinking about other institutions that have historically marginalized Black people, right? So he has called to account to say that some of these government institutions don't always work on the behalf of the American people, which, if we're honest with ourselves, Brother Caesar, is true, right? Like as much as we applaud the Department of Justice for taking him to task, I'm talking about as the individual, it's hard to applaud the Department of Justice as an institution outside of the leadership of a Democratic or a person that we like. If the institution is under the leadership of a person that we like, then that institution becomes our enemy at that point.
True. And don't get me started on federal institutions, because you mentioned the Department of Justice, but I can think that the Department of Agriculture historically has done far more to hurt Black folks, particularly in the South, than any other governmental entity, when they would give all the white farmers all the loans and all the crop insurance, and basically made the Black people, the Black farmers, make the bricks without straw, so they knew that their farms would fail. And those people still have not been compensated for that. And as a result, you see a loss in Black ownership in farmland and Black farmers. Now, that probably naturally would have occurred because of the corporate takeover of farming. However, had Black folk had the equal footing provided by the Department of Agriculture that was provided to white farmers, you wouldn't have seen a decline as rapidly as you did. So don't get me started on the federal government, because I mean, its crimes against Black folk are legion. So it's not just the Department of Agriculture. We can go to the Department of Interior with homesteads. Come on, brother. We can talk about that forever. But
that's facts.
Yeah. So with regard to this, but with regard to former President Trump, or President Trump, as you want to call him, we are in a dangerous time. And I don't like, as a lawyer, I like to believe at the end of the day that we are a country of laws and not a respecter of persons. And if we let him do what he's done and get off scot-free and just turn a blind eye to this, what's the next thing? We're right at tyranny, and I don't like it. And I know some people will say, and they have some legitimate beefs in saying, well, we kind of already at a tyranny now. But at the end of the day, our country only functions if on the belief that the courts are the place where we can get justice. And when I say we, I mean everybody. Princes, paupers, Black and white, everyone gets their day in court, gets to be heard, and gets a fair shake. And if they win, they win. And if they lose, they lose. Once we lose that, I mean, we're back to dueling. And and then we're doing like on the Game of Thrones, where we're gonna have trial by combat. So that's where we're headed if this doesn't happen.
Hey,
and that's not being hyperbolic. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hey, no. And Brother Caesar, very quick before we take our next pause, since we've seen these recent decisions coming from the Supreme Court, because a lot of the court now is a super majority conservative group, some of them are Trump appointees, but that has led to many people losing faith and trust in the Supreme Court. How serious is that as you speak to this decline? the fact that we in a situation where the last bastion of hope, the Supreme Court, seems to be working on the side or against our interests in some ways. Where does that leave us, brother?
I have to tell you that, and specifically speaking with the court's ruling with regard to affirmative action, I'll be honest with you, most people aren't going to agree with me. I think it's a nothing burger. That affirmative action hasn't had the effect that people have wanted it. You know who's benefited the most from affirmative action other than white women? Upperly middle class and wealthy black folk. Okay? So now, just because Harvard can't take into consideration a race, we're not going to see any more black people there. I don't buy that. What I think this will do will force our Ivy League institutions to do what they should have been doing. And that is say we're going to look at the socioeconomic background of a person. And that means we're going to go to West Virginia and get Mindy Lou and Billy Bob, and we're going to go to Baltimore and get Taekwon and Shy Tasia and let them in. And if they can matriculate, they can matriculate, rather than it be my daughter. Okay, and in all fair, and that's not me bragging, but my daughter's upperly middle class. She goes to good schools. She's got that leg up. She doesn't need affirmative action. The people that need affirmative action are the poor folk that don't get to go to those those prep schools, those private schools. And we have those students, and that will have more of a transformative effect on our society than just letting some kid that was going to be Ivy League anyway. Okay, he didn't get to go to Harvard. He went to Morehouse. Is he any less great? No, he's not. Or is she any less great if she went to Spelman rather than Columbia? No, arguably she probably is better. So I don't see it as being the death knell. I think the country goes conservative, it goes progressive. And again, black folk used to working a little harder to get what they want. I don't see it as being this death knell for opportunity for black people. I just don't. I really don't. I just absolutely. I don't.
We got to take a quick pause. We just getting word that former President Donald Trump pleads not guilty, Brother Caesar, to charges that he plotted to overturn the election. We got to take a quick break. I'd love to get your take on this. What does that mean? What does that entail? Folks, I want you to join us in this conversation as people are checking in on our YouTube page under Roland Martin. Let's continue the conversation about this historic day in America of a former president being indicted for the third time, folks. Yep, we're talking about Donald J. Trump. Stay with us. The conversation continues on the other side on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, you're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. We are talking and providing coverage on the situation and the hearing of former President Donald Trump as he faces 2020 election interference charges. As Jeff said, he pleads not guilty to the 4 charges that he was charged with 4 counts. He pleads not guilty to all 4 counts. Those 4 counts have been conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights. Now, Magistrate Judge Maxima Upadhyaya asked President Trump how he pleaded to counts 1 through 4 in the indictment. She said, "How does Mr. Trump plead?" He said, "Not guilty." Not guilty. All right, let me go back to our brother, Attorney Caesar McKnight, who serves also as the Chief Minority Whip of the South Carolina Democratic Caucus. Brother Caesar, he pleads not guilty, but she also gave him some strong warning on the fact that since he's pleaded not guilty, if he violates the condition of his release, an arrest warrant can be issued for him and he could be detained. But this warning is also a routine part of the arraignment where the defendant is not detained. So what is happening here at this moment, but with this plea and with this warning?
Nothing. This is the standard for someone who's been charged federally. They're told that there's an indictment. The indictment's unsealed. They're brought in, and they get to enter on the record how they plead or not plead. With the federal government has what they call the Speedy Trial Act, and the law says that you have to go to trial within 70 days of you entering a plea of not guilty, barring them filing motions or whatever, which President Trump is not going to want to go to trial within 70 days. So he's going to file that. So the next thing that will happen is the case will be assigned to a judge, which we already know who the judge is assigned to. The judge he was in front of today is a magistrate judge, which is sort of like a judge's helper. They're the ones that enter the pleas and set the dates for the pretrial motions. So the next things that will be, they'll have pretrial hearings scheduled periodically. President Trump's defense team is going to file what we call a Brady motion. That's what people commonly call discovery. And they're going to file a bunch of other motions too. And the government will then have to turn over any of the evidence that they intend to use against the president. And then later on, they'll have another pretrial hearing in which the judge that's going to preside over the case will set a trial date. Now, trial dates are not set in stone. They're kind of fluid. It just depends on what comes up, what evidentiary issues they have, and what other things that they have to attend to. And so then I don't see this trial. This case is definitely not going to go to trial before December. This one has less evidentiary issues or less of a volume of evidence than the case in Mar-a-Lago. So this one could go to trial, I would say, shortly after the one in Mar-a-Lago. And then but again, the other cog in the wheel is what happens in Georgia and what happens in New York. So any judge in this case is going to have to consider 4 things right now. I'm sorry, 4 things right now, maybe 5. The New York case, where they are on their docket, and then these federal indictments, and then if he is indicted in Georgia, which all signs point to that he will be, the Georgia case. So this is standard for the par. He'll walk out, and we know what the president will do. He'll come out and claim bloody murder. Oh, they're picking on me. And he'll raise a bunch of money. He'll spend a bunch of money but what's crazy is the bulk of his money is going to his defense team. So there's some lawyers that are going to have quite a good Christmas off of President Trump.
Oh, I'm sure. So talk to us about how the Democrats, Brother Caesar, will respond or should respond to this latest set of charges, this latest indictment here. You said it earlier in your remarks when we opened up the conversation, and I agree with you that the Democrats have not just a messaging problem. I will go as far as to say they have a strength problem, where they're trying to figure out, they need to show a sign of force that every time the Republicans go on the offensive, not play by the rules, the Democrats still it responds. It's very conservatively. And which is ironic. They respond very conservatively. They respond from a moral sensibility stance rather than hey, get my feet dirty. You want to go blow for blow? We can go blow for blow. So how will the Democrats respond to this thing?
I think the Democratic Party would do well to not respond to the Trump indictment. No one needs to be doing victory laps, thumping chests, fist bumps. Let the justice part play out. There's no way to make any hay off of that. What the Democratic Party needs to do is focus on a message. And we need to stop doing what we've done for the last 35 years. The Republican Party will stake a claim on some moral case, which forces us, or in theory, forces us to be opposite of that. We need to say, okay, we want more. When the Republicans say we want more parental choice in schools, in books, we can say, yeah, that's a good idea. And then guess what? You steal their thunder, and they don't get to go on this full outrage of, oh, look at them. They want to program your children. You just, okay, yeah, you're right. And just keep moving. And then also figure out the economic message that people want to hear. The Democratic Party also needs to stop being the party that seems that they want to do everything for everybody. That's a losing message. People, this is still America. Horatio Alger is still the myth that most Americans like to believe in, that if I just pull myself up by my bootstraps, I'm going to do it. And if you keep saying, oh, we're going to give this to this person, give that to that person, what does that say to the people that I want to do it for myself? So we're going to have to figure out that message. And we're also going to figure out a way to appeal to men. The Democratic Party has a men messaging problem. It really does. And that's not to be anti-woman or anything like that. But I'm just telling you that if we're just going to stake out a claim of being the party of all things to all women, and we're just going to leave the guys over here, you're going to end up losing more than you win, because you're going to have more African-American men vote Republican. I'm telling you that when it comes to an election like this, if the Republicans get more than 12% of the African-American vote, Donald Trump's going to become president again of the United States. Period. And that's not a lot of people to get. And you need to go on social media and read the comments on Instagram of how young Black people are talking. They kind of like Donald Trump.
But here's the crazy part. So how did we stop that flow, right? Because you and I both know, Trump don't give a damn about Black men. When we're talking about the case of the exonerated 5 in New York and all that he did around that case, when we just talk a little bit at his policies, I mean, he just don't give a damn. You know what I'm saying? If it came down to it, he probably would institute stop and frisk policies across this country, right? So we know where he stays. But I do find it interesting that we're living in a time where the symbolism of what manhood looks like is this guy who is a convicted rapist, who is a misogynist, who is a man that's, he quote unquote, I'm going to just bust up into the system and they're going to do what I type of do. This type of tyrannical, oppressive figure that's coming from men. And I think that has a problem. Benny Hill checked in and he said, it seems most Black men only understanding of political awareness is that the establishment is wrong and or corrupt. With that being said, Black men find this quality relatable. And are we finding this quality relatable at our own detriment, though, Brother Caesar?
Well, my thing is, it's the devil you know as opposed to the devil that you don't know. Okay, so let's compare and contrast how we perceive Donald Trump and how we perceive Joe Biden. You perceive Donald Trump is a jerk, period, first. But he's a strong jerk. He's a rich jerk. And when we look at Joe Biden, as good as he's been, as thorough as he's been, he looks like an old man. And your eyes tell you he's not passing the eye test. Yeah, you may tell me Joe is mentally agile, but every other week he's stumbling down steps. You tell me Joe is sharp in the head. Well, he's bumbling words and doing whatever. Yeah, we know that Joe may be better for us. I understand, maybe, but how? Tell me what it is. Tell me what it is that Joe Biden has delivered for black people. And beyond that, and I mean, I know some people are going to throw some bricks at me. Let's talk about Barack Obama for a moment. If you look at what happened under with the Obama-Biden administration, we had the greatest loss of black wealth in this country in history, period. Black home ownership was decimated. And the only folks that got bailed out were the automakers and all the black people that bought all of those homes prior to the housing bubble, who bought all those ARM interest rates and everything and all those bad packaged loans. They got put out in the street and they lost everything. And so when you look at that, when you say, yeah, the Democrats tell me they're going to do something, but they always say, yeah, I was going to do it, but those mean old Republicans. But it seems like the mean old Republicans get to do what they want to do, how they want to do it.
Actually, that's the point, brother.
And that's the point. That's the problem.
Let me tell you, that's the point right there. That's the point, that if we don't come out swinging,
right?
And I'm saying that if the Democrats don't come out swinging, bro, that's the problem. Because men attract. Look, and I get it, and I'm not one of these like bang it, chest open, this misogynist dude. I'm just saying that men are attracted to strength.
Right.
Men are attracted to power and influence, right? And unfortunately, men, and I'm saying this today with the greatest humility, a lot of men don't understand the power of communication, having the conversation, being able to do it. We're getting there. I think we're getting there. I think black men are slowly getting there. I think we're becoming less cold to each other and to the women and families in our lives. But we're still hardened because of the conditioning and how we grew up, right? Of not seeing the humanity of another human being outside of ourselves.
But black men are forced to be stoic because an aggressive, angry, emotional black man is perceived to be dangerous. So as a matter of self-preservation, we're taught to shut up, be cool, internalize that, and go. And we don't get to vent. I mean, be honest with you, our women don't want us to vent. You ask any woman, they'll tell you, oh, yes, I want a man that's... No, you don't. If you saw a dude that was always crying and bellying, you'd be like, if you don't get your sweet behind up here and do some push-ups, what is wrong with you?
Come on, brother. Come on, that's real.
And as a consequence, we suffer from hypertension, death by stress, and all of those things. But it's a survival mechanism for us. The minute you see a black man, me, you, anybody see a black dude on the street screaming and hollering, we're like, what's going on? So we are, and especially that's exponentially greater what white people see when they see someone African-American, a man, being very expressive and loud. We're just conditioned not to do that. You know what your parents tell you. Don't be running in public for no reason. Don't be, get that look off your face, be stoic. And those aren't things to tell you not to do it. It's just your parents are trying to prepare you or tried to prepare you for the world that you were going to live in and the challenges that you were going to face as a black man. So
absolutely.
And yet, is it fair? No, it's not fair. But life ain't fair. And that's the world that we live in. And those are things that we have to deal with. But the Democratic Party they come across as being soft. And at the end of the day, there ain't no guy out there that wants to be perceived as soft. I mean, he don't want to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he sure don't want to be Pee Wee Herman, and God bless the dead. He just don't want to be that. So you have to, the projection of strength by the Republican Party, they say these things, and it's mean-spirited, but they still get it anyway. It says something. It just does.
And it plays off of the white patriarchal system that we're all in part of, right? So white men dictating what manhood looks like for black men.
Right.
And that's because of our historical attachment to slavery, and our ongoing attack of our blackness to this present moment, that an only way for us to survive institutional and systemic racism and oppression, we have to think outside of ourselves. We can't be black men. We have to be black, white thinking men in order to survive this system. We got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, more conversation with Brother Caesar and you. Folks, stay with us. It's The Culture on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
For decades, the tobacco industry has deliberately targeted Black communities and kids with marketing for menthol cigarettes. It's had a devastating impact on Black health. Tobacco use claims 45,000 Black lives every year. It's the #1 cause of preventable death. In the 1950s, less than 10% of Black smokers used menthol cigarettes. Today, it's 85%. Menthol cools and numbs the throat, making it easier for kids to start smoking. Menthol also increases addiction, making it harder for smokers to quit. Menthol cigarettes are a big reason why Black Americans have a harder time quitting smoking and die at higher rates from smoking-related diseases like cancer, heart disease, and stroke. It's time to stop Big Tobacco from profiting off Black lives. An FDA ban on menthol cigarettes will improve Black health, save lives, and protect future generations from addiction. Learn more at tobaccofreekids.org/ban menthol.
Folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. We have been keeping our eyes on what's going on in Washington, D.C. in the case of former President Donald Trump and the set of charges that he's facing as part of the election interference case against him. Their magistrate judge, Maxilla, has scheduled the next hearing in the election subversion case for August 28th at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. That proceeding will happen before U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan. Tanya Chutkan will serve as the judge presiding over that case. Prosecutor Thomas Wyndham said the government was available on all of the days that the magistrate judge offered as potential hearing days, but would prefer the earliest one. The Trump team requested August 28th, the latest of the three options. According to the magistrate judge, Maxilla, she said, quote, "I will also note, Mr. Trump, that to the extent you are not able to attend as a result of your schedule, I have consulted with Judge Chutkan and she is willing to waive your appearance." Let me go back to our special guest here today. We have been talking to attorney and chief minority whip of the South Carolina Democratic Caucus, Caesar McKnight. Brother Caesar, when we're looking at this situation, there's a lot of, they're setting up the dates for the next for the next hearing, but it seems to be very accommodating. Is that normal?
It is. It is. The judges, especially when at this very early stage, they're going to be very accommodating. And for her to set a date of August 28th, that's less than a month away. So while it's accommodating, it's not like she said Halloween. So, and you also heard what she said. Yes, you may be busy, former President Trump, but the necessity of your appearance has been waived. So what that means is you can go off and do what you want to do, but your lawyers need to be here for all these pretrial conferences. And so, yes, she's being accommodating, but she's not being so easygoing to where she's being rolled over. And from what I've read about this judge, she's no nonsense. She's very intelligent, very accomplished. And she can be a pretty harsh sentencer. If you've seen all the sentences that have come down from January 6th, she has not been the judge that's been handing out candy. She has been throwing out some serious time. So I like her. And I will say this, I think that even though everybody's been worried about Judge Cannon in Florida, one thing you need to know about judges do not want to be overturned on appeal. And what happened to Judge Cannon when she appointed that special master and the Court of Appeals had that unanimous decision that smacked her down is really an insult to a judge. It calls into question your credibility as a judge, and judges don't like that. So I think that while you may see some favorable rulings from Judge Cannon, it won't be some that will cause you to be like, oh, she's in the tank. I think that's a message for her because judges they want to be regarded by their peers and people in history as being good judges. And that's at the end of the day, they value their reputation. So I think where some people can help President Trump, they'll help him, a la Bob Barr, but they're not going to risk their careers and well-beings for President Trump unless they're just crazy, like Rudy Giuliani, who's probably not going to have a law license by the end of the year. Which is sad because, I mean, I love, there are a lot of people I love. There ain't nobody on this planet that I'm going to sacrifice my law license for. Not one. I work too hard and I'm about to be 50 years old. What else can I do without a law license? So nobody's going to risk that except for crazy people like Cindy Powell and Rudy Giuliani. So I think you will see this. You'll see the DC court move this trial as fast as they can, and you will also see this judge not buy into the shenanigans of let's draw this out, because everyone knows that's President Trump's playbook. We're just going to draw it out as long as we can, and I mean, but where they can keep it from drawing it out, they will. Now, if he gets a conviction, yes, he gets the right to an appeal, and he gets the chance to file his briefs to go before the Court of Appeals in DC or in Florida, and eventually the Supreme Court if they grant him the writ of certiorari. But those are long shots. But again, the ultimate way to defeat Donald Trump is going to be at the ballot box. That's the way to assure this. Because if he gets convicted and if he still wins, he still wins. So that's the game.
Absolutely. We're looking at the fact that the hearing has officially concluded, folks. And I'm just keeping up with all of the latest here, but the arraignment hearing has concluded in DC. It lasted 27 minutes. Trump has departed the courtroom, and we will see how this situation will continue to play out. This is some AP footage. They are following Trump in the caravan, leaving the federal courthouse in DC. Of course, the district has made way for that to happen. But in the final few moments, Brother Caesar, and I truly appreciate your thoughts on this, I heard that I read a piece from NBC News where Governor Ron DeSantis said that, you know, he didn't want to jump into the fray of giving any type of words to this situation, but he did say that he would look to change the law about trying someone outside of their home state, taking court hearings from DC and trying them in their home state. And I was like, you know what? This is what makes Ron DeSantis, as crazy as he is, he understands that politics, and more importantly, he understands policy, that if you can undermine, it's just certain little things that he's done in Florida to keep him in power, that if he undermines the small things, he said this, and I was like, wow, that you take a case like this out of DC, and he's saying, I would advocate for these cases to take place in their home state, which, say, for example, for Trump, that's in Florida. That it changes the whole dynamic of things. And I wanted to get your take on this, brother. How does that play out, man?
Like the young people say, Ron DeSantis is all cap. And Ron DeSantis should understand that we have the concept of jurisdiction and venue in this country. You are tried for the crime in the jurisdiction and venue in which you committed. That would be like me committing a murder in California, but saying, "Hey, I'm from South Carolina. We get to get you try me." It's ridiculous, and Ron DeSantis is just pandering, and and I'm sorry, he's just, as a presidential candidate, I can't take him serious. He's if we were in Texas, I'd say he's all hat and no cattle, and whatever. That's just him pandering to the lowest common denominator. You can't take there's some serious Republican candidates in this race, people that have some intellectual heft that party would be smart to pay attention to. Will Hurd comes to mind, Asa Hutchinson comes to mind, but the Republican Party right now is run by the mob, and the mob just wants they want carnival barkers and panderers, and that's what they've got in Donald Trump. So,
damn, there it is. Attorney Caesar McKnight, who also serves as the chief minority whip of the South Carolina Democratic Caucus. Brother Caesar, I'd love to bring you back on. Thank you for your time with us today and giving us some insight about this whole situation. And brother, keep up the great work. But more importantly, I thank you for being good for the culture, at least to talk to us about the very real issues facing both Democrats, Republicans, and President Trump.
Without question. Thank you for having me. God bless you and have a good weekend, okay?
And you too, brother. Thank you. Folks, that's going to do it for us. I thank each and every one of you. We will continue our live coverage of this latest development in the case of Donald Trump. Stick around for Roland Martin Unfiltered at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. More footage, more conversation, and more discussion about what this means on the future for both Republicans and Democrats. And more importantly, what does this mean for the country and Black America? So continue to tune into Roland Martin Unfiltered and Black Star Network, where we will bring you those conversations in an unfiltered space. Also, make sure you do your due diligence and support us here at Black Star Network. Go to our website today. We're streaming a lot of video right now. So go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. We would love to get your financial support. Also, we want you to download the app for free. Follow us on all social media. There's a video of President Trump right there. And so we will see how things go. Looks like he's doing a little press conference. Take a look.
It was also very sad driving through Washington, D.C. and seeing the filth and the decay and all of the broken buildings and walls and the graffiti. This is not the place that I left. It's a very sad thing to see it. When you look at what's happening, this is a persecution of a political opponent. This was never supposed to happen in America. This is the persecution of the person that's leading by very, very substantial numbers in the Republican primary and leading Biden by a lot. So if you can't beat him, you persecute him or you prosecute him. We can't let this happen in America. Thank you very much.
Do you want these trials to happen before the 2024 election?
As you can hear there, folks, that was President Trump giving just some remarks as he's leaving the D.C. area, saying it was a persecution and that this should never have happened to an American. Continuing coverage. Stay with us. There's a lot more happening, a lot more to talk about. Stick around for Roland Martin Unfiltered. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow. And I'm sure we'll talk about more other angles of this ongoing story tomorrow right here on The Culture, exclusively here, only here on the Black Star Network. Stick around for Roland Martin Unfiltered at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today. Peace.
You're rocking with the best.